I think we breathed life into Jesus. I think black people animated Jesus through the power of their own magic, but that's for a whole other separate rant.
This is something that I have said a good number of times on this platform. Exhibit A, check out this video I made February this year.
A few days ago, I said this. I acknowledge and respect myself and the gods that I have within me. That statement confused a few people in the comment section. You lots have been bamboozled to the point where you don't even realize that you are the ones who actually give this entity called Jesus power and not the other way around. I acknowledge the power that I have within me, so I stop giving that power to another being, because that's actually a disrespect and an insult to my being.
A good number of us know Nostella. She too has made a video on this.
Let's talk about Jesus Christ, specifically the power behind the name Jesus Christ. And just a disclaimer, if you're a religious person, you might not like what I have to say. The name Jesus isn't inherently powerful. The power that you claim is in the name Jesus is actually coming from you, not the name. The point is, the power that you claim is in the name Jesus is because of the belief you have in the name of Jesus. The power is actually coming from you. Without your faith in the name of Jesus, there is no power in it. But I said this to say that you can literally recite any other name outside Jesus and you can get the same results as long as you have the same faith and conviction. It's not the name Jesus, it's the power you have and you've given to the name Jesus that manifests the power that you think it has.
And even more black people, home and abroad, are starting to think this way as well. And it absolutely warms my heart. And if you want to get academical with this, I just found out that a professor has actually theorized this, that black people are the ones giving Jesus his power. Each one teach one, right? You want to make sure you watch this next clip to the end.
Check out this video. I'll be right back.
What's a thought that you once accidentally thunk and now you can't stop thinking it?
Some months ago, I read a quote from a professor who theorized that black people imbued power into the name of Jesus. And it really stuck with me. Like so much of the way that black folks practice the Christian faith is infused with African religious and spiritual traditions, even in ways that most can't see and some refuse to see. And we have channeled all of that spiritual energy into this name for hundreds of years, trying to will ourselves out of an unimaginable suffering. And this happened so much so that it would be no surprise to me if this name in the mouths of black folks actually did have healing properties and wonder-working power. So often in our comparisons of black churches and white churches, what is being left out of the conversation is the ways that black folks have oriented themselves to this name and to this religion in America historically. For white Americans, this name was used for imperialism, colonialism, and white supremacy. And for enslaved Africans and their descendants, this name was used for liberation from suffering and divine love. So while many black folks and white folks are calling on the same name, I don't think they're remotely tapping into the same energy. This is so real, and I really appreciate Ryan's video. Please go back and watch the full thing. I really think spiritual displacement is one of the biggest consequences of colonialism. It's one of the biggest things that we suffered. The inability to connect with our traditions, the demonization of the traditions that sustained us, spiritualities and traditions that I know for a fact could aid in our liberation.
I find myself on a personal level longing to know a spirituality of revolution and to feel authentically connected to one rather than a displaced intruder.
Because think about the layers of this, right? White Christian colonizers came to Africa, took people from their lands, and not only did they take them from their lands, they took them from their spiritual traditions and practices that were indigenous to us. And the reason why removing us from the land was such a vital part of that process is because the land was connected to our spirituality. So they get removed from that land, they get removed from their spirituality. That spirituality gets effectively demonized. It becomes illegal to practice indigenous spiritual practices. It becomes illegal to gather without white supervision. And this is really the beginning of how they begin to police black people and police black spirituality. These are direct consequences of colonialism. So imagine hundreds of years of spiritual indoctrination into white evangelical theology or white Christian theology. And because we're so spiritually attuned, we preserved our Africanisms, we preserved our spiritual traditions within the tradition that was handed down to us. And thus the black church was born. And everyone understands the difference between black church and white church in terms of their modalities and the things that they practice, the things that they do in ritual. But for so many of us, we've siphoned our spiritual energy into this new thing. And now the name of Jesus or the person of Jesus becomes an egregore. It's the thing that we poured spiritual energy into that is now returning that spiritual energy back to us. And so the reason why I identify as a spiritual pluralist, even though I am nomadic, right? Even though I'm still on a journey of exploring my spirituality, is because I know that power is in that name, but it's not because of the name. The reason I still listen to gospel music sometimes is because I know our power is in there. Like that music belongs to us. but I also want to explore and learn more about, expand my consciousness and thought around the spiritual traditions that formed us before we landed on these shores.
It's all about our energy and our essence, which are very powerful things, by the way. So wherever or whatever we choose to focus and or invest our energy and essence into, that place is going to be manifesting power because we put that power in there. And I love how he brought into this conversation the fact that Black people practice Christianity different, because in Black Christianity, we brought in African spirituality and African beliefs. And yes, like he said, some Black people might not want to admit to this, but it doesn't change the fact that it's true. Because if you look at how Black people on the continent and in the diaspora practice Christianity versus how the people who gave us the Christianity practice it is very different. This is why on the continent, let me narrow it down to Nigeria, where I'm from. We have the subsect of Christianity that is the celestial churches, white garment churches. Those people that if you look at the kind of Christianity that they practice, is giving a good number of percent African spirituality. Even in the Catholic Church in Nigeria, we know say the original manual for way of worship now solemn, singing hymns all day. But Africans were not okay with that. So what did they do? They created a new group even within the church, and they call it the charismatic group or the charismatic society, where they can come in and bring in all of that energy, shake, dance, and scream, and do all of this extra stuff that within the Catholic Church original manual, they're not the doing. They have to find a way to tap into a different energy because the is not working for them. That is why you would also find a good amount of Catholics who at some point in their lives decide to stop being Catholics because the just isn't working for them. Then they will go to the Pentecostals because the Pentecostals have that energy, the casting and binding, the shakarobo, skibarobo, the turning around, the spinning, the spirit thing that they do there. All of that not follow the original Christian manual, but it's heavy on the continent and Africans crave it. So you find them jumping from pillar to post, looking for that energy, and they will not rest until they find it. And this point brother brought about how African beliefs and African spirituality has been infused into Black Christianity. I can't stop thinking about it. I've been pondering on it since I came by this video. Because now I went from just thinking, oh, we are giving our energy to this name, Jesus, or this entity, Jesus, to thinking we have also been giving the energy of our continent to this name. We brought all of this energy in, gave all our power away, and handed it on a platter to this being, to this entity. And now not only do we credit him for each he does not deserve any credit for, we also make ourselves vulnerable because we've given all of it, our energy, our essence, all our power. We gave it away to him. Y'all will see this video and start screaming end times. Snap out of the matrix, darling. There is no end time. You don't need Jesus. It is Jesus who actually needs you. Let's get it right.